So, Ambassador Sullivan, it strikes me when we talk about practitioner, you're a practitioner twice over of law as well as of diplomacy. And it's fitting that you are here particularly because this is the David A. Morse lecture, which is done in the memory of David A. Morse, who was a lawyer, a practitioner, as well as a public servant and internationalist. So, a loyal member of CFR, I should say. So, give us your perspective from a practitioner. And as I'm listening to the dean, she's talking about how we go into a situation assuming rational. You've dealt with President Putin.
Yeah.
How rational was that?
My own choice to go to Moscow. I had two different presidents tell me I was irrational. But Putin is very rational. I once had a conversation with my then boss, Secretary Blinken, and we were talking about what Putin is like. And, you know, he's often compared to a gangster. And I didn't want to make an ethnic reference, or if I made one, it would be one that would be from my own tribe. So I'm from South Boston, and I started talking about Whitey Bulger. And I mean, you've got to understand, you can't understand Putin unless you really understand where he's from, what he's about. He's a tough kid from Leningrad, right? And not understanding his sense of grievance, a sense of loss. But to get back to your original question, I hadn't thought I'd be talking about this today, but I was often asked by law students, by more junior officers at the department, how my training as a lawyer helped me as, well, you know, that much, you know, all of your work, you know, going to law school as a law clerk for Justice Souter, et cetera, wasted on you at the State Department. I said, absolutely not. I'm an advocate. And I was an advocate when I was deputy secretary for the department, for the secretary. My very first meeting as deputy secretary, we're sitting around my big conference table, and the big team of, we're in the midst of the nuclear posture review. Very complicated issues, and we're working through them and what the department's view is. And somebody at the table, we're talking about what the department's view is. And someone said, yeah, that's the department's view, but I'm pretty sure I heard Secretary Tillerson say the opposite. And I said, whoa. The secretary's view controls what the department does. That's my client. If you think about representing a company, the CEO, the board, my client is the secretary. And if the secretary, if that's his view, I could try to convince him if I think he's wrong, but I then go to the interagency and advocate for him. And of course, for the United States, for the president in international fora, but then as ambassador, again, advocating for the United States for wrongfully detained Americans in Russia. Very much a case of advocacy for them, both publicly in the media and with the Russian government.
So, Secretary Clinton, it does strike me, you know, obviously Secretary Tillerson was the Secretary of State in charge.